So this is country alphabet made by AI, and spoiler alert, AI is not gonna take us over anytime soon. Starting with A, okay, that's correct. That is Argentina, and that looks like Argentina. However, very early on, the AI starts messing up pretty badly. I can see that they tried to spell Brazil, however, that is not the Brazilian flag, and that is not the Brazil shape. I don't know why they use Thailand for some reason. That's not even the Thai flag, though, on top of the map. Then we have C for Canada, that is very clearly Denmark. D for Denmark, that looks like Argentina. Actually, I don't even know what that is. H for Hungary. All right, you pass. So far, this AI has only gotten 2 right. I for India, I'll give you a pass. I understand that middle symbol and their flag is a little bit hard to draw. J is for Japan. All right, well, the AI is clearly thinking about World War II too much. Japan and Germany, they have been best friends for like 100 years now. Less than that. L is for Lebanon. That looks like they tried to draw the flag of, what's that African nation? Is that a Swatini maybe? I don't know. Oh no, that's clearly Kenya, Drew. I'm stupid. Or is it Hungary? But I don't even know. At least they're getting the first letter correct. You know what I mean? Like the flag and map associated with it is a little bit off. Well, except for Brazil. I don't know what the hell happened with Brazil. This looks like an alien Brazil. M for Mexico. Yep, okay. This is the craziest one though. Bro, who made this AI? Bro! Prue, you gotta sue them or something. Either that or AI is predicting a fascist Peruvian uprising soon. How do you make this mistake though? Seriously? Like it's kind of bad. Okay, first of all, it doesn't even look like the shape of Germany, but that's beside the point. You know, I would have given them bonus points if it at least got the shape of Peru down at least. R for Romania, that is an African flag over it though. Not the first time a Romanian flag has been confused with an African one. S for Spain, that is the Spanish flag kind of. O for Oman, but that looks like they're making a C. Q for Qatar, you got Thailand right, funny enough. I'll give you points for Ukraine, even though it looks like the shape of Libya, that's the flag. V for Vietnam, the flag's correct. W for world, that's not a country, but to be fair, what else was he gonna put? I mean, I guess he could have put Wales or even the Western Sahara, although those aren't like official countries. I would have counted West Germany too, maybe. That is, again, okay, the AI really loves Thailand, but okay, I'll let that pass. There is no country starting with X. However, there is a Chinese subdivision that's titled that, so yes, that's fine. Z for Zambia, they just got confused and put something here, that's India. Y, okay, now they're not even getting the correct letter in front. They did 2 Ys. Okay, why did they Y? And Z for Zambia again. You know, there's 2 countries with Zambia. You got 50% correct. You could have, if you were gonna put another Z, done Zambia and Zimbabwe, but I see they didn't. Seems like the AI got more and more confused as it went further and further down. Basically, all hell broke loose when this happened. I'm very excited about the future of AI, but man, this post really makes me realize it still has a long way to go. Purge us for mistaking Peru for a Reich and a world as a country? Yes, Grok. Yes, let's purge you. Now, to be fair, if the AI just found this online image somewhere, I mean, I guess I get it. Bro, Los Nazis? Yeah, I knew Latin America has no chill. Even after a week, they tried again. The AI still struggles. I thought growth of AI is supposed to be exponential every single day. To be fair, at least a mustache man isn't running Peru anymore. Peru es clave. By the way, if you want a Thailand that's not AI generated, or a Philippines or a Vietnam that's not AI generated, we got Country Ball plushies for sale over at makeshift.com. They will be gone very soon, so head over there, reserve yours today. So this sparked an absolutely massive debate on the internet this week. We're talking drinking on the streets. There are certain US states where you absolutely cannot drink an alcoholic beverage in public. Unlike in America, drinking in public is legal across much of the European continent, only exceptions being Eastern Europe and a couple of Nordic countries. What's really crazy about this map though is that the blue states, which is supposed to be the top tier, which is supposed to be, well, misleadingly the places where you can drink in public, is actually just showing that there's no statewide ban, and there's some parts of the state that allow you to drink in public. Blue makes it seem like you can just go around in any of these blue states and drink. You cannot. I'm telling you that from California. Do not try this. However, in all the red places, it's just straight up banned. It's a statewide ban on public drinking with no confirmed exceptions. Orange is not much better. There's no statewide ban, but it's basically prohibited in all the subdivisions. Well, in almost all the subdivisions. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 that get by. There's only 2 green states with pending laws would eventually allow public drinking in designated areas. That is Colorado and Indiana. All the yellow stars are specific cities that allow basically public drinking everywhere. Las Vegas is probably the most famous example of this. You can find a place in California and Oregon, even Montana. The purple starred cities, that's not anywhere in the city. That's just in special entertainment zones, whatever that means. So I'm thinking like a stadium or something. This map is actually a reply to this tweet, which got 100,000 likes. Freaking ridiculous that it's illegal to walk around outside with a beer. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but I agree. We used to be a proper country. Bro, in the USA, we literally used to be able to drink and drive. Not that that's okay, but what happened? What the happened? No, the truth is the US has had a very complicated history with alcohol. We still very clearly do. Obviously, it dates back to the Prohibition days, but then there are states like in the Deep South, I know specifically in Texas, where they have like entirely wet and dry counties. Only certain counties you can even buy alcohol in, which to be honest, I think is pretty insane. Now, I gotta admit, we probably shouldn't be drinking like around school areas or where like children would be around. That's probably not a good look at all. But then again, this does remind me how many countries like France up until 1956 would literally give kindergartners a glass of wine. A lot of countries did this because it would help put them to sleep. Anyways, this post got 100,000 likes. A lot of people were talking about it. Literally all the comments are just like, the Germans can do this, the Brits can do this, French can do this. While we're on that subject, here are the states you can receive a DUI on a bike. Bro, a DUI literally stands for driving under the influence. How can you be driving a bicycle? You ride a bike. This should be an RUI. In all the red states, it is considered a DUI if you are, well, riding a bike impaired, including California. Yes, in California, this does count. I think I accidentally did this. Just kidding, I never did that. I definitely never did that. In the green states, it's not technically a DUI, but jurisdictions are still able to charge for disorderly conduct or reckless endangerment. Okay, I can see that. Bro, if you get a DUI on your bicycle, do they take away your bike license? They better not take away your driver's license. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, in California, it doesn't affect your driving ability, and it's usually just a fine up to 250 bucks. Okay. But apparently, Florida treats biking under the influence equivalent to driving under the influence. Florida. That is so stupid. I would not expect that from Florida, actually. Even in the Netherlands, it is technically illegal, though never enforced. That's a little bit of a different situation. I've ridden a bike in Amsterdam. If you're riding around drunk there, you will cause public problems. I think that's the difference here. Like, bikes in California are not even thought about in terms of the infrastructure. If you get in an accident, it's just, you're dead. In the Netherlands, these bikes are treated literally as cars. They have their own lights. They actually prioritize the bikes over the cars with these lights. It does sound like this might be one of those things that's technically on the books, but it might not be handed. I mean, it depends on the state for sure, but it might not be handed out that often. In Canada, it's only on an e-bike. Having a motor is key. I remember someone riding a horse down a freeway while drunk a few years back on a DUI in California. I didn't know horses. How? The horse isn't drunk. It has just been revealed to us Americans that this is what Europeans think of as the South. And let's be real, it's probably not just a European thing, it's probably just an international thing. I don't even blame them, it makes sense. These are the southernmost states, if you think about it. Well, Alaska and Hawaii don't count, but... And if you don't believe me, someone replied to this saying, wait, is it not? And that got over 400,000 likes. So clearly this is a very big misconception. Let me try to break it all down. There's the geographical South, and then there's the cultural South. But when you're referring to the South to any American out there, their mind is gonna go just to these states here. Like literally nobody from the USA is gonna hear the South and think of California. A lot of this has to do with history and, well, obviously the Civil War. It's funny because the cultural South actually gets pretty far north when you think about it, all the way up to, well, almost Delaware. I mean, I literally heard someone say like the southernmost territory of Delaware is basically the South. So we're still very much in debate on what exactly is the cultural South, but the geographical South, that's fine. You're not wrong for thinking this way, just know literally no Americans think this way. This comment, isn't that the South? Are you measuring things in American units again? Yes, we are. Like I said, this is the big difference. Honestly, it is just another example of calling Americans stupid in terms of geography. Like, it is a dumb geography thing that we do here. It literally is the geographic South, I know. And like I said, what makes it even funnier is that we're not even really sure what is the South in our own heads. I've heard people say some crazy things like Pennsylvania, rural parts of Pennsylvania is pretty much the South. I think we can all just agree that these four right here, that is generally considered the Deep South. That's for sure the South, and it's the Deep South. Like, this is how we do geography in the US, and again, it kind of just goes to prove my point. We don't have no idea what the hell we're doing over here in terms of geography. Like, I'm still weirded out calling this whole territory the Midwest. Oh my god, what a great way to start a war. We should do this. Anyways, this debate is probably never gonna go away. This is always gonna pop up every couple months, to be honest. Finally, we have done it for the first time in history. Slightly more than 50% of our population have passports. Out of the almost 340 million people living here, almost 170 million of us have our passport. But what's insane about this is look at where we started. In the year 1990, it was apparently less than 5%. That is mind-blowing and also embarrassing. That wasn't even that long ago. That was only 35 years ago. When we entered the new millennium, we only were at like 17% of Americans with their passport. Like, all the stereotypes are real. Like, we just don't leave this country. It's funny because it really actually started to explode in 2019. This was a big spike, and then it actually dipped down again because of COVID. COVID actually delayed our progress from, well, traveling a bit more, but it was inevitable. Americans were just going to become more and more online with our passports. I think part of it is that passports became easier to obtain, also easier to renew. That was a big one. I didn't get my first passport till like 2016, to be fair, and I was like 25 or something. This compared to the percentages that Europe has, where the vast majority of country is over 80%. I mean, anywhere between 80 to 100. I'm sure it's not 100, but I'm sure some of these countries are at 90 maybe. Okay, Russia is still at very low rates. It's funny because when you break it down to states, there's still geographical regions that are not leaving the USA. Yeah, speaking of the whole deep south. It's funny because I always talk about this, but if you're leaving North America as an American, you very rarely run into other Americans abroad. Like, outside of Canada and Mexico, if you're in Europe or Asia or Africa, you might run into an American, but it's really unlikely. You're way more likely to run into a European or an Australian or anyone from Asia, honestly. Of course, this whole thing comes down to just our geography. The same reason why the US has been, well, so OP in the last century. The same reason why people don't really leave. We basically live on an island surrounded by 2 oceans separated from the rest of the world. So I don't really blame Americans for not getting their passport earlier or just now finally getting above 50%. It's good that Americans are, well, they're learning about the rest of the world. I traveled internationally for the first time in 1994 as a teen. I knew where I was from. That was pretty rare. I didn't know any kids in my school who traveled overseas, but damn, less than 10% at the time. The steep ramp in the middle was probably when it became mandatory to have a passport to go into Canada and Mexico. I mean, to be fair, you kind of don't need a passport to go into Mexico, but I'm not telling you that. You can go to Mexico without your passport. I wouldn't recommend it, though. Thank you to my patrons this month. Drew seems like the kind of guy who never loses the remote. Drew's Argentinian Trust Fund, Rip Grandpa. Drew Supremacy League. Alexander the Terrible. Carmel S. Connor Pavlik. Douche Baggins. Frederick Tiblin. King. Bear Hayes. Luxembourg Lover. Miglu. The Goat. Nolan. Nord Tyrol. And Tambrin.